You're listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. Each week, your host, Polly Requa, interviews veterinarians and individuals in the pet industry from across the nation answering pet questions. Bark and Wag podcast is produced weekly for your enjoyment, and show notes can be found at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. That's BARKNWAG.com. Please remember to subscribe to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. Bark and Wag is dedicated to protecting our dogs through advocacy, education, and supporting like-minded dog lovers by selling custom pet products. Bark and Wag is excited to announce our new partnership with a Colorado hemp farm to produce a line of CBD products for your pets. Bark and Wag has CBD pet tincture available in 300, 750, 1200, and 2400 milligrams. Bark and Wag CBD is pet safe, no THC, it's made in the USA, and is CO2 extracted. Please check out Bark and Wag's website, barkandwag.com. That is BARK, to see our line of CBD and awesome merchandise. We love pooch ideas for podcasts and merchandise, so anytime send an email to Polly at barkandwag.com with your suggestions.
Welcome to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. I'm your host, Polly Requa. Today we're talking to Dr. Bonnie Bragdon. Dr. Bragdon has a unique background that combines veterinarian medicine, practice management, and industry innovation. She is the co-founder of the Independent Veterinarian Practitioners Association, the first nonprofit association dedicated to uniting and empowering independently owned and locally operated veterinarian clinics. Welcome.
Polly, thank you so much for having me today.
Well, we're excited to have you on the show. As you know, we're getting close to the holidays, and I know that I've had a lab that's pulled down a tree. I've had a dog that's gone to the bathroom on the tree. I know my mom has given our golden turkey, which upset her stomach. So
yes,
I wanted to have you on the show to discuss what are the holiday hazards.
Yeah. So, the thing about animal ownership and guardianship is, the main thing to think about is always expect the unexpected. When I was in practice, I had a dog present because the owner actually observed the dog eating a screw. Why the dog chose to eat the screw, I don't know. So as you're setting up for the holidays, just always kind of see the world from your dog or cat's standpoint. Understand how adventurous they are. Understand that they are similar to children in that they don't themselves understand the hazards they face. And they actually like to climb and play. And they like to explore the world with their mouth, which means they chew and they eat things they shouldn't do. So from a big picture standpoint, think about, hazard proofing your home as if you had a human child in the house.
So what are some of the foods that you should definitely not give a pet during the holidays?
So some weird ones, right? So dogs do not tolerate raisins very well. There also can be issues with xylitol, which is an artificial sweetener, especially in peanut butter. Onions, oddly enough, in cats, not that too many cats are consuming onions. So those are some of the main foods that we want to stay away from. And really, there's an epidemic of pet obesity in this country. And even giving foods that seem, innocuous, like a little bit of turkey, can really set up dogs and cats for pancreatitis, which is inflammation of the GI tract and the pancreas, which can end up becoming a chronic long-term problem. So what I like to tell owners is really the easiest and the best thing to do is as you're eating, if you really feel like you need to give your pet some food, go ahead and give them dog food or cat food. Give them their normal, regular dog treats as a part of the holidays. So rather than going off and being adventurous and feeding them all types of stuff that they really aren't used to, which sounds yummy and wonderful and luxurious, and it's like such a wonderful treat, your pet may not really recognize the difference. And so by giving them treats that are made for them really goes a long way to protecting them from harm, and you from having to pay a really big vet bill. Now, if you really feel like you want to give human food, some of the things I recommend, I know my dog loved baby carrots. I'd eat a baby carrot, she'd eat a baby carrot. So those are relatively safe in small amounts. String beans in small amounts. Cheerios are a great one. They're small, low calorie, usually fairly low sugar. Certainly some boiled or baked chicken. And you can do turkey, but no bones. Absolutely under no circumstances should we give our pets any of the bones from our meals. So if you have to give human treats, I say restrict it to some of those things that we know that they can tolerate pretty well.
Yeah, and another thing is if you're giving a gift and it has chocolate or any type of food, do not put it underneath the tree.
Yes, and be cautious. I'm sure most of you out there who own larger dogs, like Labrador Retrievers and Great Danes and those types of breeds, know how easy it is for those breeds to counter surf, and things that you don't think they will get, they do get. And Polly, you brought up a good point, which is chocolate. Chocolate is a definite no-no for dogs. Now, of course, the higher the chocolate content, the more premium the chocolate, the more dangerous it becomes. And that's why, there's so many different things and nuances between the species. That's why I always recommend, first and foremost, treating food made for pets. And then if you do feel like you want to give those human treats, make sure we restrict it to bland things that we know they can tolerate.
And what about plants? Aren't poinsettias poisonous?
Okay. Yeah, so poinsettias, lilies, a number of plants can be toxic. Certainly, as you're adding plants to your household, talk to your gardener. They will know a lot about those. But things like wheatgrass, those are great for allowing pets to chew on. Catnip for cats can be really fun and entertaining for both you and your cat. Some cats respond to it, some don't, but they like chewing on plants. So if you do, decide to bring, plants permanently into your home, there are many that you can acclimate well and you can choose very wisely. So it actually improves your pet's health as well as your own. But if we're going to bring in holiday plants, we need to be very cautious, and poinsettias are a no-no. I'd be really cautious about reeds and anything with those pine needles and things like that. And certainly we want to bring those in. I understand how joyous that makes the holidays, but we just need to be very mindful and watchful. So for instance, over the holidays, you may want to keep your dog or your cat, exclude them from the living room when they can't be continuously observed. Maybe make a bedroom that's their little spot. It's good for them. They get to escape from all of the holiday traffic, and then you can keep an eye on them and make sure that they're not getting into things they shouldn't.
Yeah, so the holidays, I'm always on my toes with the dogs because they're either drinking out of the Christmas tree, base, or someone's after an ornament.
Yes.
Now, like our tree, all the ornaments are at a certain level.
Yes.
So that no one can eat any of the ornaments.
Yeah. And so like for us last year, we had a very small plastic tree, and we have 3 young cats, and we discovered it was not a good idea because there were bulbs and pieces and parts all over the house. And so, I think it's interesting. I'm going to go off on a tangent for a very quick second. If we look at zoos and how they entertain their inhabitants, things that, we know that they tolerate, going out and being innovative and creative and finding things that we know that are healthy for pets and repurposing those for the holidays helps us be creative. It helps keep them healthy, and it adds joy and fun to the holidays.
Yes. Any other tips for our listeners?
Yeah, just spend a moment, watch your dog and watch your cat and watch how they play before you set up your holiday arrangements, and I think that'll really kind of make you think more carefully about what you bring into the home. Certainly, like I said, bland treats, if you do feel the need to give them treats, especially if they're begging or asking for food. Be mindful that we do have an epidemic of pet obesity, so we don't want to feed them too much. Making sure that they have a space. Pets can get stressed with all the high traffic and the wonderful visits that we have. So making sure that they have space where they can decompress and have some alone time. And then just spending some individual quality time over the holidays with your pet is both good for you and your pet.
Yeah, I do have to add to it that we gave what I said earlier, one of our dogs, this was a while ago, you only do it once and then you never do it again. But Turkey thinking, oh, it's going to be fine.
Right.
The dog was sick all night. I mean, it was, because I guess it's super greasy.
Yeah. And so that's, and you know, I had a lot, well, I have an irreverent sense of humor, and I used to tease my clients that always, they were insistent on feeding people food. And I said, yep, go ahead. And then the next time you bring him in for a case of pancreatitis, what I advise you to do is to take that bill that you get from me and you post it on the refrigerator, and that will probably inhibit you from feeding people food again.
Right.
And most pets, you know, the short-term acute gastritis is not life-threatening, but for some breeds that are prone to pancreatitis, it can really, like miniature pinschers, for example, that can really set off a lifelong issue with pancreatitis, which starts out with that little piece of meat that you think is so tantalizing, it would just be great for your pet. It can really set them up for long-term problems.
Oh, I know. Well, everyone needs to just have a lot of common sense during the holidays with their pets.
Well, and really, truly, another thing to think about too is as you're eating chocolate cake and you're eating stuffing and you're eating steak and you're eating all these premium, wonderful foods, your pet doesn't really know what you're eating. So if you substitute something that's healthy and made for them, they're going to be just as satisfied as if you give them human food. So, for example, pets are much more apt to find things that are appetizing because of their smell, not so much their taste. And so by feeding those things that are made for them, it keeps them healthy and happy and prevents you from spending a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a great idea, is to have some Cheerios, carrots, strawberries, things that they do like. And just then if they are begging,
yes.
It's not,
And, one last thing to think about too is during these large meals, especially when you have a lot of people who may not understand pet ownership or children who are dropping things, it's probably best for the entire family to, have that pet be in their comfort zone, in their comfort spot, either in their kennel or in their private bedroom, and have them separated from the family during those large meals. It'll prevent them from, surfing and picking up stuff that's dropped on the floor. And then it also prevents the temptation of having those who don't know how to work with pets giving them the wrong food.
Yeah. And especially if you have larger dogs, that you can't put anything on the cocktail table.
Yes.
So, and dogs know who they will get in trouble with and what family member, I'm just going to go ahead and eat this artichoke.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I had a very small Jack Russell present that I felt so horrible for him. He ended up being fine. He had somehow jumped on the table and consumed an entire ham.
Oh.
Yes. And he got so obstructed and constipated that we had to keep him in the hospital for several days. And we had to put him under anesthesia to help him pass all of that obstructed material. So, dogs have a very different way they eat than people do, because dogs have been scavengers, because they're predators. They tend to kind of overeat, many of them. So sometimes they don't know when to stop, and that's where we need to safeguard them.
Yes. I have a lab that likes to overeat.
Yes.
So, well, thank you so much for being on the podcast, and we look forward to having you back.
Well, thank you so much, and I wish everybody happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, www.barkandwag.com, to your friends and other pet owners. Have a pressing question for a veterinarian? Ask your question at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. This has been a KFR production. Join us next time for another edition of Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk.